Hello friends, and welcome back to my crafty space. My name is Crystal, and in today's video, I'm going to be working on a foundation page for my December Daily 2020. For this page in particular, this is going to be the very last page in my December Daily album, and every year it is always the same thing. We have our elf, our helper elf, who comes to live with us from December 1st through December 24th. Her name is Mary. And I love creating a small little mini album at the end of my December Daily to document all of the things that she has done throughout the month with us. So that's what we're going to be doing today. Every year, I try to do something a little bit different with her album. One year I did tags. One year I did this big, long fold-up page. This year, my idea is to do a waterfall page. So I have a template that I have put together over here that will go inside of our album. I will likely put some kind of quote or a photo or something on the back to conclude the album itself. But on this side, what I want to do is I want to have this where it all folds up. So there would be a 4x6 where I can put 6 photos on each page. And as it folds up, there will be additional ones in here with some journaling on the page underneath. So I have this to use as a template. I have already picked out some papers that I would like to use with this. And I purchased this Merry and Bright acrylic piece from Colorcast Designs. I'm always looking at December time for something that's got the word Mary, since that is the name of our elf, to include on her mini album. So I am going to go ahead and put you guys on fast forward while I get this all put together. And then once everything is done, we will go ahead and slow back down and close you guys out with some last remarks. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump in. So before getting to this point, I did go ahead and pick out 5 coordinating papers that I wanted to use to make this flip up element with. I guesstimate that about 1 inch of each of these patterns is going to show through when the entire thing is completed at the end. So the one that I wanted to be the back portion, which is this right here, I wanted it to be this black and white stripe. I really like the way that it pops off the page and that all the other patterns can go on top of it. So it's kind of neutral in the background, but it still has some pattern to make it fun. So I cut that one to the size of a page protector, which all of mine in my album I cut to 6.875 by 8.25, but I know many people just make that a little bit easier and cut it at 7 inches by 8.25 inches. So whatever way you prefer. Then I took all of the rest of these papers that I'm going to use and I cut them into a 4-inch by 6-inch piece. The nice thing about this is when I go to add my photos later, all I have to do is just adhere down a 4x6 photo. So it's going to make assembling this the day of super, super easy. So I chose the gingham pattern there, which has some greens, some like lime greens and some pinks in it. I have a black and white star pattern. I have a red polka dot pattern, and I also have this pink polka dot pattern. So most, if not all, of these papers came from the Crepe Paper Hey Santa line. I know that the black and white stripe, I believe all of them actually, except for maybe that big pink polka dot. I can't remember where that came from because that actually came included with the Kelly Perky Christmas collection that I purchased. I got the black and white collection. And that was just the backside of one of the black and white papers. And I loved the pink and I loved how it brought in the pink from the gingham pattern as well. So all of those are 4x6. Then I took a piece of vellum that I had and I cut that down to 2 inches by 6 inches because I want to put it across the middle of the top where the acrylic piece is going to go. I think it will help it to pop off of the pattern paper and to just give almost like a muted background behind it. So yeah, my ultimate goal was to make that piece really stand out on this page. Once I had all of that stuff done, the next thing I did was to take a piece of plain copy paper, so the really thin copy paper, and cut those into 6 inches by 2 inches and 4 of them total. Then I grabbed my scoring board. You don't necessarily have to have a scoring board. You could just fold them in half and crease it down. I did it this way to make folding it in half a little bit easier, but it is super thin paper, so probably wasn't that necessary. So then I'm going to go ahead and press that seal down really good. So fold them in half, press it using my bone folder. These are going to become the hinges that will hold my cards onto that background paper. So we're just going to start at the top here. I will add some adhesive to this, and then we're going to start sticking down the cards onto that background paper. With a waterfall like this, you can do it a couple of different ways. I have in the past done a waterfall page like this, and I will link it for you guys. I'm trying to remember which one it was. I think it was one of my Change Story Kit Crush projects I did with a waterfall. And for that one, I made all of it go all the way up to the top, so some pages were longer than others. This one I wanted to keep it consistent with the 4x6s to make adding the photos later much easier, but you can do this in many different ways. So for this one, I'm just going to take all of those 4x6s and I'm going to adhere them to one side of the hinge. I want these to be on the top, so when I adhere this down onto the page, the hinge is going to fold down. So the paper will also, fold down onto the page. So do keep that in mind as you are adding your cards to the hinges. Then once we get this one done, I am going to go ahead and assemble my my title card, I believe, is what I'm going to do next, because I want to get that done before I adhere that piece down. So we'll grab that piece, and I'm going to get that vellum to be somewhere in the middle of the card. I just eyeballed it, and because it's vellum, I don't want to add any adhesive behind it because that will show through. So instead, I'm just going to use my tiny attacher and attach it that way. Now I'm going to set the acrylic piece to the side, and we'll get that adhered down once this page is fully assembled. So I'm going to use score tape for this portion. I like using score tape when I'm working with interactive pieces like this because I do feel like it holds much better than roller adhesive. For the card itself, I didn't mind using my roller adhesive because it is going to be sandwiched in between the hinge portion will be sandwiched in between the card itself or the paper and the photo. So I'm not too worried about that falling apart. But since those two pieces of paper are being held onto the background page with just a piece of copy paper, I wanted to make sure that I added some extra security onto the hinge by using score tape. So that is why I chose to use a different one than before. For this portion, I wanted to make sure that I was positioning these next cards in the right spot. So I cut the next page, which is a 5-inch by 6-inch, down to a 4x6, so I could use the leftover portion as a guide. Then when I did that, I realized, I made my hinges 2 inches, so when they're folded, it's 1 inch by 6 inches. So I knew that I could just use the bottom portion of that hinge as my guideline for where to place the next page on this background. I hope that is making sense to you. So again, I'm going to use score tape. I will line up the card right underneath where that hinge is. And then when you fold it down, you can see that there is an inch sticking out below that title piece. So we're just going to do this for the other two here as well. I do accidentally put them a little bit too far over to the right. So I took out my footage because I figured you guys didn't need to see me tear it up off the page and then put it back down on the page. But my best advice for that is to just make sure that you are lining up your cards against that right edge or whatever edge is going to be the outside edge of your page. So line it up there so that everything, is cohesive once you get it all down. I think the reason that happened is because the top page, I used a 4x8 paper pad, and it might not be a true 4 inches wide. So I think the cards underneath are a little bit wider than the top one. You can't really tell when everything is aligned like it is now. But I was originally lining them up on the left side according to that top card. So it is what it is. So now I just need to add my title piece on here. This is the acrylic title that I had purchased from Colorcast Designs. It has this outline shape, and then it has all of these little inside pieces that will go inside the title to make it super colorful. I am adding that on using my Tombow Mono liquid adhesive just to make sure it has a really secure hold. And once it is all on there, then this is pretty much ready to go. I think that this is going to look so cute when it's done. So I went into my stash and just grabbed a random photo that I had printed and not used just to see what this is going to look like, make sure everything is going to go in here really nicely, and it is. This is where it's going to be really easy, is to just go ahead and put that photo right on the top portion. And then in that 1 inch by 6 inch area, I'm actually going to print off on my computer journaling for the 6 days that is inside of each photo in order to talk about what Mary the Elf did on those 6 days. So I'll just number them like 1 through 6 and 7 through 12 and so on and so on. Then I think underneath the journaling, I'm going to add some ephemera pieces. I kind of went through this just to see like what would certain things look like. But I won't actually adhere anything down until we get to this day during December, because I just don't want to commit to anything right now, since I might want to use some of those ephemera pieces on different pages. So I'm just playing around with ideas, seeing what I think would be pretty, and that is pretty much it. So then I'm going to go ahead and write out on these pieces what everything is going to be. So I'm going to write photo on the top portion and then journaling 1 inch by 6 inches on that bottom strip piece, which I'll skip over a lot of that so you don't have to see me do that. But that just lets me know when I get to the month really quickly and easily the dimensions that I have to work with for journaling. So that is pretty much going to be how this project where this project stops for now until we get to the end of December. All right, you guys, so I'm going to go ahead and slow us back down. All right, you guys, that finishes up this foundation page for today. So this gives me the basis for my story for this little mini album here at the end of my book. And then inside of each flap, I have an area to put a photo, which will include 6 pictures per photo, so 24 little 2x2s in total, and then a spot to add journaling. And I figure I'll just number them like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and put what our activity was for the day. So this won't necessarily be super like in-depth journaling necessarily for Mary, just kind of a general overview of what she did with us throughout the month. So that is going to be for each one of these, where there's photo and journaling spot, photo and journaling spot, and a photo. Whoops. Looks like I put that one up a little too much. A photo and journaling spot. And then down below the journaling spot areas, by the end of the month, I can see what do I have left ephemera wise that I can put down here to decorate this if I choose to do that. So if that's something that I want to do when we get to that point in time. Otherwise, everything else is set up and ready to go. I think on the back side of this, I may put, I'm debating on 2 different things. I may either put a quote to just finish up the album, or I may add some sort of pocket to this in order to stick the cards and the things that we get throughout the month from our friends and family members. I usually like to include those in here. So I'll either put a quote here and then an extra envelope over here, or this will become the envelope and that will just be the end of the album. So we'll see as we get closer either to the month of December or as we're actually in the month of December. I will make that choice. So Love the way that this turned out. I hope that you guys were inspired and maybe this can help you tell a story. It could also be a really great way to tell a story that has a lot more to it, where you do want to do a lot more journaling, because you could only have your pattern paper be the bottom inch and then have all the rest of this be area for journaling or additional photos. So there's a lot that you can do with these waterfall type pages. All right, you guys, if you enjoyed this video, I would love a thumbs up down below, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you can see all of my future crafty videos. I will be back again on Monday with another foundation page idea for you guys. Hope to see you then. Until then, have a fantastic rest of your weekend, and I will catch you in the next video. Bye now.